One of the core tenets of Lester Levenson's teachings is that want equals lack. And that's a bitter pill for most of us to swallow, because right at the base of our mind is this argument that says, how would I ever attain anything if I don't want it first? And that's a total fallacy. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to share some of my own personal examples, real world examples of how dropping wanting has led to great success, especially financially. So check this out. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, the simple way to self-realization. So if you want total control of your mind and more happiness and abundance in your life, then you've come to the right place. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. You're going to love what we show you. Primarily because what we do here is 100% experiential. Meaning you don't have to believe me. You have to just take it on blind faith. But you just try what we show you. It's very simple, very practical, and you get to see the results for yourself firsthand. And if you're a regular here, you love the work that we do, and it makes a big difference in your life, then let us know. Hit the like button below and share this video with your friends. Let's get this method out to the world and help others get to a much more positive, much more loving place where the whole world that we all live in can be more harmonious and more abundant for all of us. Now, one of the core principles of this method that we do, which is given to us by the spiritual master, Lester Levenson, is that want equals lack. And this is the same principle that Buddha talked about, that's at the core of his teachings, where he says that life is suffering and the cause of that suffering is desire. Therefore, if you let go desire, you end suffering. Now, what I think that he doesn't mention, but Lester makes no bones about, is the fact that not only when you let go of wanting does the suffering end, but also all the things that you're looking for to attain, all the things that you want, just naturally come your way. They just fall into your lap. And just by letting go of wanting, you start living in a world of abundance. And that might sound pretty fantastical to some of you, but like I said, everything that we do here is provable. And this aspect of Lester and Buddha's and basically every other spiritual master's teachings is something that I've been setting out to prove ever since I learned this method. And because of that, throughout my journey in practicing this, I've been taking on various challenges and applying these releasing tools to mastering those challenges, whether they're physical or financial, relationships, whatever. I apply them to all areas of my life, and they've worked out beautifully. Now, I want to give you a specific example of how letting go of wanting has made a big difference for me financially. And before I get into that, I just want to point out that, see, what most of these masters talk about with wants and desires runs counter to our own experience of being in this world, because we're brought up in a world that teaches us to desire and programs into us that in order to achieve things, we got to want them more. You probably heard that cliche coach, football coach, tell the team, you're not winning because you don't want it enough. Or, Tony Robbins, right? You got to have passion, desire in order to go out and achieve things. And look, some of us, we can kind of power through and make it work. But it takes a lot of effort. And it tends to wear us down at the end. And here's the thing that we ultimately come across when we're chasing after wants and desires, which is so systematic in everything in our experience. Like, all you have to do is just look at any television commercial or online advertisement, which we all get bombarded with everywhere, every day. What do these advertisements do? They sell you the idea that happiness comes from attaining this product that I'm selling you. You get this thing, you're going to be so much happier. Right? That's what all advertisements are about. And so we have this idea programmed in that happiness comes from attaining things, achieving things, having things. And this is misguided because sometimes it feels like we get something and now we're happy, right? Like, I just bought a new car. Oh, I'm so happy now. I'm driving around in my new car. But rarely do we pay attention to the fact that whatever it is that we get, no matter how great it is, and no matter how happy we are in the moment that we get it, it doesn't take long before we're not satisfied by that thing anymore. Right? That new car isn't so new anymore. And now there's a shinier, faster, better car out there. And oh, I want that one now. Or we get into a relationship. Oh, this is the most wonderful person. Oh, I found my soulmate and I'm so happy. And then not much longer, it's like, oh, they're an animal. I can't wait to get rid of them. So whatever happiness that we achieve by getting things is always short-lived. It never lasts forever. And what all these masters tell us is stop chasing after things in the world. Just let go of desire. But that rubs us the wrong way, because we have that program in that happiness comes from attaining things. So somewhere deep inside of us, even though it might register intellectually, oh yeah, that makes sense. But somewhere deep down inside of us, it's like, oh, if I let go of all my desires, I won't be happy. I won't have anything. I'll be all alone. What do I do? And so we don't go there. Now, once we've proven to ourselves that letting go of desire not only has us experience the happiness that we're chasing after inside all the time in a way that never leaves us, to the degree where it's literally impossible to be unhappy, but also proving to ourselves that by letting go of desire, it's easier to achieve things. Because what a lot of us don't realize is that the mind is a creative instrument, and the mind deals in pictures. So for example, if I say don't fall down, what do you get a picture of? Falling down, right? The mind doesn't process the words not or don't. It just goes right to the picture. Now likewise, when we want something, most of us don't realize what we're picturing in mind. But when we stop to examine it, we see, when I'm wanting something, I don't have a picture of having it. In fact, my picture is the opposite. It's somewhere out there. It's unattainable. I don't know how to get it, or I don't deserve it, or I don't have the skills, or I'm not good enough, or it's impossible. I'll never have it. There's like this separation. I'm here, it's out there, and I'm striving for it. However way I can get it, I'm going to try to get it. But that's not a picture of having. That's a picture of not having. And since the mind is a creative instrument, that's what we get. Lack. And if we let go of that wanting, guess what? That picture changes. Instead of being a picture of separation, it's somewhere out there to be attained in the future, It's something that we have right inside of us, right here, right now. And it's instantly manifestable. And that's why a lot of these great masters that we've heard about have demonstrated miracles in one form or another to prove your mind is a creative instrument, and you could have whatever you want by the mere decision of it once you get the wanting out of the way. Now, like I said, I've always set out to prove these principles in my own life. And one of the areas in which I really put this to the test is something that I've been pursuing the last few years, which has been learning how to be a trader in the markets. And see, trading is a very funny and fascinating thing because there's two aspects to it. There's the mental, analytical aspect, the intellectual aspect, but there's also an inward, behavioral aspect to trading. And both must be mastered. And one of those areas is actually much more important than the other. You see, when I first started to learn how to trade, I was just focused in on learning all the analytics. And it's a very complex topic to wrap your mind around. You're gathering information from a bunch of different areas. And the way it always seemed to me is it's like spinning plates. Right? You get a bunch of plates lined up on little sticks and you start spinning them so they're spinning and balanced on there. So you get this plate spinning and the next one and the next one and the next one. And once you get them all spinning in an alignment, then you get the clarity to make your decision on where to enter and exit out of the market. And so as I was developing my analysis, I always had this confusion because there's a lot of times when I would get everything seemingly right with the analysis, but the market would just ignore my analysis. I would just get it flat out wrong. And so a lot of times I'd go back to the drawing board. Okay, so I need to add more information. I need to add another piece to the puzzle to get a better analysis. And so I was pursuing getting better by adding more knowledge. And for sure, every time I went back to the drawing board, I got incrementally better, but I still had these problems and I couldn't quite really master the trading, not as well as I knew I could from some demonstrations I'd seen. So I was like, well, there's something else that's missing here. And along the way of developing the mental, analytical, intellectual aspect of the trading, it was also clear that there were behavioral issues at play that I also had to master. For example, one of the things that would play out in me was this desire to not miss out on a trade, right? I had this fear of missing out that got me into aggressively jumping into any opportunity that looked like it was an opportunity. And I would just pounce on it without really considering if that's the best opportunity. And so I was very aggressive in my trading, and it wasn't driven by the analysis so much, but my inner need, desire of, I don't want the market to move without me in it. I don't want to miss out on a big move, so I'm going to do whatever I can to be in there. And that was quite detrimental. That really whittled away my account in a big way of getting in, getting stopped out, and so on. And also, in getting stopped out. And what I mean by getting stopped out is you enter at a certain price, and if the market moves beyond your range, you kind of set like a risk limit. So you're not holding on to a position where you just lose a lot of money. You set a certain risk. If it goes beyond here, okay, I'm out of the market and I'm going to look for the next opportunity. Right? It's called getting stopped out. You hit your stop, right? Stop my trade. This is going too far. Get me out of here, and I'll look for another opportunity. Now, another aspect of wanting, and that behavioral aspect that came into play was a lot of times when I would get stopped out and I would lose like $300-400, of that risk. I hated that. And I needed to get back in and recover that as soon as possible. And this is a common phenomena with traders. In fact, they have a word for it. They call it revenge trading. You get stopped out and now you got to get revenge in the market. Okay, if it's moving, I thought it was going to go this way and it kept going that way. All right, fine. I'm going to go that way. And then as soon as I go that way, it turns around and starts going that way again. And so, again, that's something that just will tear apart your balance, your profits. And so, again, that isn't so much an analytical issue to overcome, but an inward, behavioral, wanting issue to contend with. And so at some point along my training, I stopped that need to add more information and be better at the analysis and just focused only on bringing up those desires. And like I mentioned before, want is lack. It's a feeling of lack. And we all experience this. A lot of times we'll experience this as like a feeling inside of us, usually in our stomach or chest area. Like if something doesn't go our way, we kind of have this sinking feeling like, like that. And in those moments in which I'm just operating off of, my emotions, doing revenge trading or fear of missing out, it was always spurred by that feeling. I'd had this feeling and I got to fix it. And maybe I could fix it by having a better trade. And that didn't work, not very well. And so what I decided was, instead of adding more information, and instead of taking more action, placing trades or not, I'm just going to sit back and take no action and just focus on bringing up all that wanting that gets stirred up if I think I'm going to miss out on a trade, or if I get stopped out and I want to recover that money that I lost. That feeling, if I just let that go and get myself on a clear slate and then start trading, how big of a difference would that make? Huge. Huge difference. And by using the tools of this method that Lester has given us, I just kept it simple. I just did the simplest, basic things for releasing in this area of trading. I didn't have to get fancy. I didn't have to play Dr. Phil with myself. I just did the simple things, like if I got stopped out, recognizing I didn't like that. I was disapproving of what just happened. And I was wanting to change what just happened. I wanted to change the past. And that's another thing that I saw a lot come up, was always wanting to change the past, change that decision, or change a bad day, which is silly. You can't change what happened. It already happened. But what you can change is how you feel about it. And by disapproving of something that happened, I made a mistake, or I entered the market and I don't even know what I'm doing. Because a lot of times, talking about behaviors and being driven by emotions, what I saw was I would take action that was completely opposite of all the principles of the technical analysis I'd learned. Where I'm entering the market in an area where I have no business being in the market in that area. Absolutely none. I'm entering the market where it's a crapshoot, where it can go in either direction. And I'm banking on it going in a certain direction. And that's not the way that I was taught how to trade. And I would find myself in these situations again and again, and recognizing that I was in the situation, but feeling like, oh, I can't stop myself from doing this. And it was like in those situations, a completely different person showed up to trade that day. And so again, it's like, okay, I got to fix that. And what's driving those behaviors? Wanting. A lot of that fear of missing out, a lot of that I can't accept a loss, I got to fix it right away, that sort of stuff. And so again, I just went back to letting go of disapproving what was going on, letting go of wanting to change things, letting go of all that wanting around it. So I was completely imperturbable. If I made a trade, great. If I made a good trade, great. If I made a bad trade, great. It makes no difference to me. I just get all that wanting out of the way. Now, to the mind, that doesn't sound like such a great place. It sounds like you're kind of bland, right? If this happens, fine. If that happens, fine. If this other thing happens, fine. How boring is that? But that's where the mind is coming from. But like I said, what the beauty of this method is that it's experiential. If you just give it a shot, you realize when you get to that place of imperturbability, it's not boring. You're not bland. In fact, you're more alive. You're more in tune with everything. And your feeling inside, throughout every cell in your body, is one of just elation, just pure happiness. And it doesn't depend on a thing or an outcome. It's inside of you. And it's always inside of you, and it can't be taken away from you. And that is a powerful way to live. And so, by focusing on that wanting, and letting go of all of that, letting go of all that lack, all of that feeling when things didn't go my way, or when I felt compelled to take an action that I shouldn't be taking, once all that was cleared out, I had a whole different experience with the markets. And this is another realization that I stumbled into in my experience with trading, was that when I was coming from wanting, I was always unsure of myself. Even if my analysis was great and I came to a conclusion that was highly probable, I was very afraid of actually entering in that position. I had a fear of loss. Ooh, if I get it wrong, I don't want to lose. And so it's very tentative and wouldn't take advantage of those particular opportunities. And so when I was coming from wanting, again, it's just always this lacking feeling, or this feeling of uncertainty and hopefulness that the market would go the way that my analysis says that it should go. But once I got all that wanting out of the way, my whole experience, my whole picture completely changed into a picture of certainty, where even if I enter in a trade and it starts working, but then it comes back and even kind of gets me into the red a little bit, not so much where I get stopped out, but it starts going red, I'm not even nervous. I just let it play out. I don't need to do anything. I just watch it. It may come back, retest a little bit, but then it shoots off. And so having that certainty, that knowingness, it supersedes all of the mental analytics. So nowadays, when I practice trading, it's not such a heavy mental activity. I use some of that. I mean, I use the analysis tools, but it's like very fluid, very simple. It's not complicated at all. I'm not feeling like I'm having to spin a bunch of plates. But I'm getting to that conclusion very quickly in just, a few little, things that I notice, and I feel certain about it. And my profits have just skyrocketed off of that. So that, again, has just been another huge lesson that when we approach things in life, sometimes we feel like, okay, I got to focus on what I know about it, my analysis, my intellect, whether it's, the work that we do, a business that we are involved in. And what Lester and all these other masters' message is don't use your mind so much. Just get rid of the wanting. And the more you get rid of wanting, the quieter your mind gets. And what happens is you start to experience a higher intelligence than this thinking mind. A more universal intelligence. People all over talk about this. Right? This universal intelligence, this one intelligence, or God intelligence. God is all knowing. And we're all a part of that, which means we are that. And the more you get your mind out of the way, you tap into an intelligence that is just direct. It's never wrong. It's all-knowing. It's omniscient. And so you just start to experience this more and more. And this is something that I've been experiencing with the trading and applying with it, just getting myself out of the way. And it has been brilliant. Not only has the abundance from this endeavor, not only has that increased, but also just that feeling of doing it. It's not stressful. I feel just like I'm in the flow all day long when I'm in front of the computer, and not driven by emotions, not driven by a need, a want. Got to do this, got to do that. I just sit back, let it happen, and it always happens perfectly. So, this is something that we can all prove. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of take you through a very simple, very basic experience of seeing the difference between wanting and letting go of wanting. And just noticing that difference. So you can start to distinguish between the two and start moving in a better direction by letting go of wanting more and more in your life. It's very easy to do. All right, so just follow along. All right, so first things first, you could either do this mentally, or more ideally, just take a sheet of paper and a pen and write down a few things. And you might pause this video for a moment to do this. But what I want you to do is just write down 2 columns, right? You're going to just do 2 quick lists. One column, I want you to write down some of the things that you want in life. All right, some of the things that you want, whether it's a particular car, a house, lots of money, person, whatever. Right? So just write down some of the things that you want in life right now. And in the other column, write down or just think about, if you're just doing it mentally, some of the things that you have in life. And that might take a little bit more time because, they have the expression, rarely do we stop and smell the roses. It's actually difficult to think about the things that are good, the things that we have, which is a good lesson about the mind. It just shows how the mind is always focused on what you don't have, what's missing, what's wrong. It's always focused on the negative, rarely the positive. And that's the thing that you listen to all day long. And wonder why. All right, so you have some things either written down or just, in your mind. Some things you have in life, some things that you want in life. And notice the difference between those two lists. First thing that's obvious is all the things you want, you don't have. And all the things you have, you don't want. And if you look more closely at the things that you want, and if you really pay attention to your stomach or chest area, right, this is your feeling center. This is what I was talking about before, where you have that sinking feeling inside in your gut, like, oh my God, I just lost something, or I made a big mistake, or something went horribly wrong. You just feel the sinking feeling inside. And so you can feel this. It's like a kind of a tightness or contraction in your stomach or chest. And notice when you look at the things that you want in life, you tend to have a contraction, a tightness in your stomach or chest over each of those things. Whereas when you look at the things that you have in life, you're not so contracted. You just feel more easy about it. There's not this feeling inside. Notice the difference? And so now, I'll show you how to get that contraction out of the way. So those things that you want, you can start moving them more into having. And it, like I was pointing out, with my experience with the trading, it's not so much about what you know or what you do that'll move that thing from wanting to having. It's not about what actions you take that'll get you there. It's about letting go of that wanting. And that is more powerful influence towards moving something from what you don't have to something that you do have. All right, so just think about something that you want in life right now. Think about one of the biggest things you want right now in your life. And notice if there's a tightness or contraction in your stomach or chest. And if it helps you, you can close your eyes and put your head down so you can really focus on this area. Pay attention to it. All right, you feel that? You feel that tightness? That clenching feeling? Now what I want you to do is just open up an imaginary window or door right in front of that tightness, wherever it is. Just open up a door right in front of it. And what is that tightness? It's nothing physical. It's not like somebody put a heavy stone on your chest or something, even though it feels like it. It's just a feeling. It's just energy. That's all it is, just energy. So right now, imagine that energy just moving out that door, that imaginary door. Just let that energy leave. However that looks like to you. There's no right or wrong way to imagine this. You can see it as water flowing out or smoke drifting out, whatever. Just watch that energy move out that door. And let that energy move out the door a little bit more. It's just energy and it wants to leave. That's why you feel that tightness. Because you've been sitting on that energy all this time. And when you think about that thing that you don't have, that thing that's lacking, missing in your life, it stirs it up and you feel it, but it's coming up because it wants to leave. And yet, that tightness or contraction is like, oh, I don't like that feeling. And you try to push it back down, try to shove it back down so it's not bothering you. But it just wants to leave. So now just open up the door and let it leave. And let it leave a little bit more. And even more. And let it leave a little bit more. And even more. And some more. And even more. And some more. It's just energy. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just energy passing through. Right? Let some more of it go out that door. And a little bit more. And some more. And even more. And a little bit more. All right? Now notice how you feel right now. Notice the difference? Basically, what we're looking for is just a lighter feeling. Feel a little bit lighter? Less in your stomach or chest, just more open, more relaxed, more free and easy. And that's not so bad. And that right there is just a very simple, direct demonstration of what Buddha was talking about when he said that want is suffering. When you're wanting, you're all contracted. You have that feeling inside. It's a lacking feeling. And what most of us do, we try to fix it out there. Well, if I change the situation, that's going to make me feel better inside. But like I pointed out earlier, even if it does change, it's only momentary. It's not long before you go right back into contracting again. But you see, when you just let it go, you feel nice and easy. You're not suffering anymore. Because you let that wanting go just by letting that energy go. That's it. Nice and easy, isn't it? And now, just for a little bit more added proof, take a look at that thing that you want and see if it's more possible to have it now than it was a few moments ago before you opened up the door. Notice the difference? It might just be a more subtle sense of, yes, I can. There is a way. I may not know exactly how or where or why, but it's more possible. Notice the difference? And that's just from a couple of minutes of just opening up the door and letting the energy go. If you do this consistently and bring up all the stuff that triggers you and gets you all clenched up, where you can literally get to a place where you just don't clench up anymore at all. And this is what Lester talked about when he said you can live in a place where you just have constant happiness without a trace of sorrow, without a trace of negativity. Wouldn't that be a nice way to live? Well, you just proven that it's possible to live that way. And even if nothing else happens, even if you never get that thing, you feel much better about it. And that's not so bad. What I call that is playing A I win, B I win. And all you have to do is just keep releasing and then just watch what happens. You're going to be astounded by how easy your life gets, how much more opportunities just show up in front of you without you having to do a thing. Right? So practice this and notice how much you're wanting things and how much that is either leaving you feeling lacking and suffering, or affecting your decisions, making you take actions that the better part of you knows, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but you find yourself doing it anyway, it's because of the wanting. It's inside of you, driving you. If you get that out of the way, more and more, you're in charge of your life. And you make better decisions. Nice and simple and practical. And provable. Now, if you want to do more than just a couple of minutes of this, I invite you to join me this July. I'm doing a 6-week course called the Wealth Manifestation Course, where it's all about achieving wealth and abundance by releasing only. It's provable. You can do it. And if you're deciding now it's time to show up and really do it, then join us. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. It's starting mid-July, called the Wealth Manifestation Course. And it's always a spectacular course. Very, very powerful. All right, so check it out. Join us, and I'll see you on the next video.